sending Diosselyn a link real quick. Hey, everybody, we are live and we're with Midwest Chicana Latina panel. I'm so excited to see your beautiful faces again. It feels like forever. I think it's only been a month. So it's so much going on. I feel like it has been forever since I've seen all of you. We are waiting for Diosselyn Todd, who I was just getting that to, so hopefully she'll be here soon. But thank you all again for being a part of this and being here with us this evening. So I'm Deanna Rios. I'm the host of Midwest Chicana. Hi, Diosselyn. And I am the CEO, founder of Midwest Chicana brand, and the CEO of Latino Arts Festival. So what we're doing tonight, ladies, is we are going to be shouting out Breonna Taylor and the situation that's happening with that. And we're going to talk a little bit about Ruth Ginsburg and definitely go into voting, into immigration, and talk about all the importance and why all of that is important, especially in our communities, and why we need to band together and unite to join forces and make that vote happen. So with no further ado, I'm going to do a round robin, and what we're going to do is we're going to shout out our names, tell us what you do and who you are, but then also tell us about something amazing you're doing right now, because I know all of you are doing something amazing in this community, and we all need to support you, and we need to shout it out. So this is your opportunity to do that. So Kristen, let's start with you.
Sorry, I was on mute. Okay. Hi, I'm Kristen Toro. I am an actress and singer in Kansas City. I'm also a banker. So I am Hannah Montana, if she's a Latina. Okay, I'm sorry. I completely am blanking on the question.
You are good. I know it was kind of a weird intro. So who you are and something amazing you're doing, which I already know what it's going to be. So Kristen, please tell us how, and then I can also put it into the comments if you have a way for us to get back to what you're doing.
Yeah. Right now I'm doing something that I have always kind of had an interest in. I always like to paint my nails. And ironically, I'm a huge nail biter. So my dad would actually find that fact really funny, but it's just very therapeutic for me. I was in a mental rehabilitation center earlier this year. And so I found a lot of solace in like painting and like drawing and coloring, especially. And I always like to have my nails done because a lot of people, oh my God, hello. Offering a show here. But a lot of people look at my hands and my job. So I kind of combine those and I design my own custom press-on nails. It's just a way for me to help women like kind of feel a little bit more confident and beautiful in their nails and hands. And I can make them any way they want me to make them, any length and any shape. It's very fun. It's very cool. My little brand is called La Reina Beauty. There's a play on words there. But every little thing I send out will say, Suelta la reina que vives en ti. And that means release the queen that lives in you. So that's just.
Okay, can you guys hear her or is it just me? Kristen?
Did I go out?
No, we can hear her. Perfect.
Oh my God. I think it was because my best friend was calling me at the same time. And I really want to text him and be like, I'm sorry, do you not follow what I'm doing?
I love it, Kristen. Well, I put it to people to follow you on Facebook, and we will definitely do that. So please check her out and her amazing nails. Let's go with Irene next. Irene Carrillo, welcome.
Irene Caudillo, President and CEO of El Centro and proud parent of 3. Graduated KCK School District and in college. Well, one just graduated college and the other 2 are still in college. So amazing. You know what? I don't know if I can answer that question. I don't think it's amazing. I think what I am doing is really trying to provide the best possible resources and work for a staff who is unbelievably, just on it with census voting. It's just and COVID. So what I can say is that our staff has, we've gotten resources to do a campaign directed toward Latino community. They're excited. We're excited. The state, even though the state is doing great on census, there are still pockets in our community that haven't filled it out. And I think we'll talk a little bit more about that. But what's important is that El Centro didn't work with census 10 years ago. I think we're going to do much better in Wyandotte County, and I appreciate the staff who understand the value and help get the work done. So I'll just say I've got amazing talent that I'm happy to be able to support in any way possible.
Well, they got a great leader, Irene, and thank you again for supporting the Latino Arts Festival this weekend. And definitely saw the interview with Manny Abarca with some leaders on that, and El Centro being focused there. So thank you so much for all you do. Okay, Lori, you're next.
Hey, I am Lori Peters, Mrs. Peters to my students, Loracita to my jewelry thing I'm in, and Grammy to my tumbler thing. So I have a lot of irons in the fire. My full time, and if you hear a squealing, I have a tumbler going, so I apologize. But I'm a full-time grad lab coach helping students with remediating their high school credits to get back on track for graduation. But also in the same hand, helping students get attainment for either early graduation and early acceptance into college in the Kansas City Public School District. I just recently started becoming an independent paparazzi consultant. So I never thought I was going to do that. I actually just signed up for the discount. So the next thing you know, I was like, oh, I could do a live. Let's see, Deanna's doing it. My Caress is doing it. And I'm just like, I can do this. And so before you know it, I'm actually doing live with Coffee and Bling in the mornings with Loracita. And so that's been fun. And then I also make tumblers. So the specialized tumblers. So yeah, I've been busy and being a mom, but we're empty nesters. So our youngest is 21 and our oldest is 28. She'll get me if I say the wrong age. But in between there's 2 more. So anyways, that's what I've been doing with my free time now that I have kids to raise.
You have a great show in the morning. I try to get there, and then I'm like, oh my gosh, she's on again. I need to get on there. So supporting you any way we can, and love your background. Teacher
Thank you.
mode,
Yes, this is the virtual classroom.
Yes, absolutely. And you got the jewelry on too. So
yes.
Yeah. So definitely put you out there on the chat so people can support you. Thank you, Lori.
Thank you.
Laura, you are next.
All right. Hi, my name is Laura Flores. To my students, I am Mrs. Flores or Miss Florida or some weird name they can't remember. It's totally fine. They're working on it. So I teach in Kansas City, Kansas Public Schools as an elementary art teacher. Still pretty new to it. I've been teaching in quarantine longer than I've been teaching in person. So you'd think I'd be a pro by now, but I'm not. It's a struggle. But what I'm doing in the classroom, I'm trying to teach them technology, how to use their technology. You can see my little target up here for them, how to use technology to make art until we can get some physical materials in their hands. Other things that I'm doing, I'm hopefully going to be a mentor in the Latino Arts Foundation mentorship program. So I'll be doing that Saturdays. I'm also doing this shorter one in October 24th for Inspired Aesthetics. So I'm also going to do like a 2-day 10-hour mentorship for a group of 10 students. And so we'll see how that goes. But besides that, yeah, I'm swamped. I have a kindergartner and it's a time crunch. You can see my background's kind of not completely organized, but
it looks great. Teacher mode again, and we just support our educators for sure. And thank you so much for supporting the community. Yes, you're going to be at the Latino Arts Foundation. Thank you, Diosselyn, too, for helping us bring Laura on board, and also doing the full day. Oh my gosh, yes, that's phenomenal. Thank you for doing all that work. Okay, Erica, you are next, and we got to talk about your shirt too. So.
All right, I've got a lot today, but I'm going to try to go over it quickly. So I have to say happy birthday to my amazing husband, John. I have to say that first and foremost. When we scheduled this, I said, John, it's on your birthday. He said, don't worry about it, because he knows I love doing this. So happy birthday, John. I have to say, rest in peace, Ruth Bader Ginsburg. I couldn't decide between shirts. I wore my collar today. She's the reason we all have the ability and the right to have a voice, to have a job, to be pregnant, have a house and a credit card, and be free. We owe so much to her. So I have to say that. Next, I have to say justice for Breonna Taylor was not served today. And I was beyond disappointed, and I know we're going to go more deeply into that. Ironically enough, I bought this shirt a few weeks ago, and I said I want to wear it for our podcast. I didn't know that announcement was going to be made today, but it definitely says arrest the killers of Breonna Taylor, and I still stand by that. And so just want to keep that out there on our minds. Also, a local company, A&D, capital Z, printed this shirt for me, so I want to give them a little shout out. They do a lot of different designs. So there's that. Something I'm working on. This election season, am working on the campaign for Michelle De La Isla. She's running for Congressional District 2. She's our local mayor. She's a single mom. She's a Puerto Riqueña. She's a Chingona, a breast cancer survivor. We used to work together for the local energy company, so I know she understands corporate America and its role in keeping our world sustainable. She's, just incredibly well-rounded, and just got to send her to the White House. So had to mention that. And coming up on October 6th, I will be presenting at the Topeka City Council meeting, because our mayor will also be doing a proclamation for Hispanic Heritage Month. So I'm going to get to speak a little bit on Hispanic heritage. So I'm really excited and proud to do that. I just got that news today, so had to share that.
Congratulations, Erica. You're doing so much. Thank you for everything you're doing for community and all of it. So, yeah, absolutely. Love having you on here. And we can't wait to start the discussion for sure. But we have to get to Diosselyn Todd. Thank you, Diosselyn, for being here today.
Thank you. And oh my God, definitely congrats on everything that you're doing, Erica. Everybody's doing amazing things. So congrats, everybody. What's been going up with me? So I am working right now on revitalizing a vacant lot into a pocket park. So it's on 14 in Grandview, and just been working with different volunteer groups to, just turn it into a place that individuals can get access to fruit. So we're going to put berry bushes. We have a plum tree, a pear tree, an apple tree, a couple of different things that hopefully the community soon gets to participate in and enjoy, and one more extra space to be out there and be in community, right? So that's what I've been up to. So I've been sore on Sundays, but it's going. We're doing it.
Not only the foundation, but Urban Works, and then now this new project, which has been phenomenal. And thank you for taking over some of the podcasts during the festival, and doing the calendar and everything else. So we just appreciate all of you. And we lost Kristen, but hopefully she'll be back here soon.
Deanna, what have you been doing new?
A lot. It's been a lot. I think everybody's like, oh my gosh, I don't know how you do everything, but you all inspire me. I love watching your stories. You guys keep me on my toes. Like, I feel like I got to do like a little bit more all the time. Like, oh my gosh, I got to keep up, like marketing and things like that. Because you guys do a phenomenal job of finding support for yourselves, marketing yourselves, and then supporting others. Like, you all always support others, and I think that's so important. And we have the festival still going on, so everybody please continue to watch the Latino Arts Festival virtual. Ends on the 30th. We have some more amazing topics coming up in artists, And then the foundation is going to be kicking off its fall mentorship, kind of fall winter, that Laura was just talking about, that she is going to be a mentor. We're needing mentors. We will pay you. So please sign up. We need mentees too. So we're including art therapy again this year. Oh my gosh, that was just a phenomenal group with Melanie. Visual art went amazing. It's just been phenomenal. And now we have Mike Macias, who is going to be helping us with college and scholarships information, and Taj Mattingly, who's an artist as well, wants to help the kids with their scholarships and how to get into college as well. So we kind of are growing as we go. So it's been great. So now, to take a deep breath to get this conversation started, because I want to make sure I'm using your guys' time very valuable. I will probably sit back and listen and engage, but I want your all voices to be heard. So you all continue this conversation. But let's continue. Let's start with Breonna Taylor. Let's just start with that. So whoever wants to begin, we can begin.
I'll start. You can't scream all lives matter and continually send a message that Black lives don't matter. And I'm going to keep saying Black lives matter, and the Black community is going to keep saying it because it's a plea. It's a demand to finally treat people like they're a part of the community. They charged the guy with shooting into the next room. They didn't charge anybody. You see the headlines, they say, so-and-so charged for the shooting of Breonna Taylor. No, they didn't care about her body on the ground. They cared more about the bullets that went through the wall into the next room. What message are you sending to the Black community? How can you expect them to care about your communities? How can you expect them to want to respect your communities if you can't respect them in their lives? That's how I'll start.
Yeah, they charged him for actually shooting into a window with blinds, meaning that he did not have the right eye and protection for individuals, which said a lot about her life. So in other words, he was just careless because he didn't have a good view into this window, but yet she was shot. There were 32 shots, and basically at this point, there's no denying that no one at this point, I mean, not even he who got fired for what they call recklessness, will pay any consequences. And I think a little bit of me not wanted to be so naive. Last week when they did the $12 million settlement, and I just was so saying, don't let this happen, because I thought that was, again, this is, how the game is played, right? Let's do this so that people think, oh yes, we do care, we do. And, to put a $12 million price on, her life just did not set well with me, because then I knew that we'd get to today. But Erica, you're absolutely right. The continuation of these kinds of things, and no one held accountable, really pushes the Black Lives Matter movement even more, and really pushes everyone to understand why that's so important for us to really open up our eyes and really talk about these issues so much more, and protest and do what we need to do.
I would say that we are still in a movement that, until, like Erica said, until everyone accepts that Black Lives Matter, you cannot say all lives matter. And for him to be charged with shooting into a window with the blinds covered is no different than somebody who basically does like a drive-by, shooting aimlessly. So what you just said is precedence precedence that it's okay. It's all right. The only thing that protects him is that he is an officer. It's horrific.
I think he was the only officer that was actually fired. I don't think he's no longer an officer, but and he'll only be charged with whatever they're charging him with. But
Yeah, and my thing is, so the defense that they have for shooting her is that Kenneth Walker shot first. But let's remember, why does the NRA tell everybody to have a handgun, right? Why do they say, oh, if there's an intruder, you need to be prepared? That's why a lot of people keep a handgun in their nightstand. So where are all the people who always say, well, I'd love for them to come to my house and I'd have a gun ready to go? They were in plain clothes. Like, I understand they were police officers, but when they show up banging through the door in the middle of the night, what do you think it is, right? And what is your natural reaction? So if nothing else, at the very least, it should be negligent homicide. They came in there breaking through the door. They say, oh, well, Walker shot first. It's not like the police were over for dinner and Walker shot at them. No, they broke through the door. Like,
I don't think so neighbors, along with the boyfriend, along with, I don't remember what other witnesses, but they all say there was no knock and identification. It was purely but there is contradiction on the other side that says they did identify themselves. They did say who they were. And this is where it all comes down to, is that it's, I mean, you have people who live there and it still didn't matter, because you're absolutely right. They claimed they were shot at first. The police claim he shot first, but no one's talking about the fact that they broke down the door. They did not identify themselves. At least that's what the witnesses say.
Even if they did, it was the middle of the night. Who says that anybody heard them? That's the thing I say too. Yeah,
you're absolutely right. Go back again.
Sorry. No, I think that we can talk about, what could have happened, what did happen, what we feel we know happened. But at the end of the day, it's like justice still wasn't served. Like, it's not going to matter what happened that night now. It matters what is happening right now. And it matters how we move forward, even as sad as it is. Like, remembering her legacy and her life as not one of another Black woman slain at the hands of the police, but something that created and started a movement that's been ongoing for years, for decades even. And so it's like, it's kind of that one thing, like, where people are like, well, what does that matter now? What are we talking? What does that matter now? What happened then? Like, I think everybody's going to focus on, arguing about who actually shot who, and, who was there, who heard what, who didn't hear what actually happened. But really, the important part is what happened today, and what's going to continue happening going forward. And it's just, in a time like now, I have a friend who messaged me right after, and she and I are like sisters, and she's a Black female, and we just go to bat for each other all the time through anything that's happening in the current year. And it was just pure devastation, and there's really not much to say right now. There's not much that can be said. I mean, we know the truth. Sorry, my camera keeps falling down, so I keep looking like a tonta. We know what happened. We know that even if that we don't have all the facts, the main fact is that she didn't deserve to die, but she was shot and killed in her own home. That's the bottom line. And no one was brought to trial for that. And I mean, they were brought to trial, but nobody got what they should have gotten. Like, even the men who actually shot her didn't get charged. The man who shot through a wall just like the one in my apartment, was more protected than Breonna Taylor. And that's the sad part. And that's the only part that should be talked about right now. But I feel like there's so much devastation right now that I just can't even verbalize exactly how I feel about it.
Yeah.
You did. You made a good point though about what do we do moving forward. It's the DA that made that choice today. The DA is an elected official. Everybody better vote like hell this year. If there's anything we can do moving forward, it is make sure you're registered to vote and show up and vote. That's the number one thing you can do. That is our, I think you said it before, Irene. What did you say? It's like it's our power.
It's our voice and our ability to make change. And Latinos have the power, but often we don't show up. And this year in particular, do not think that all of these barriers, regardless of COVID, that the barriers in place are up definitely to prevent us from voting. And no matter how complicated they make it, we need to make sure people know what to do, how to do it, and get it done. And that's what El Centro's trying to do, and that's what many others are really trying to do, because you're absolutely right. We have got to make a statement. We have got to make a change, and we have to begin to hold those that we put in place, who they work for us, and we have let them do so much harm to our communities, and we've got to take that back. We've got to get it back, and vote for people that know what we care about, and care about what we know, and get to work for particularly communities of color.
We have a comment here, and I just definitely want to, Patricia, as a mother of a biracial child, I'm scared for him as he gets older. At the age of 4, whenever he hears police sirens, he gets scared that they're going to come get him, which really breaks my heart, which I know there's a lot of people feeling this way, and it's just like almost like a normal now, right? I mean, I'll even get tensed up when I see police and scared and not sure. It's awful. It's an awful feeling. But I do love the fact that you all are bringing up the voting, because that's 110% why we are here and what we are here to talk about, because we want not just our Latino community, but all communities to come out and show up and change the way things are happening right now. Which brings us into the topic of Ruth Bader Ginsburg, who lost her life this past couple days. And if I can tell you, I literally cried because having kids, who will be affected if things change, even for ourselves, if things change and go a different route, how will they live their lives? How is their future? Will they even have a future with the way things are going to be set up? So I'd love to open the floor to talk a little bit about a legacy.
Well, what I can say in regard to her work, and I think Erica has said it, we owe so much as women to her, and the work that she did. I think just the one thing I want to make sure that we understand is that, we talked about what was on the ballot with the administration. With her departure and the opportunity for a conservative judge, what now becomes very much in the foreplay is Roe versus Wade, anything with LGBTQ issues, marriage. We are really going to have to, immigration, all of those things, DACA, everything that goes before the Supreme Court that are final decisions, and not all of them went this current administration's way, but a change like that, it can and will be devastating. But what I can say about her is that what I admired the most, and I, like you, cried. There's no doubt there were tears for a lot of reasons. Angry because, you know, I knew what it meant for the Supreme Court, but so, you know, amazed that, you know, her length of time and her ability in our Supreme Court changed so much. But she was a small but mighty force, often quiet, but smart, and used the law like it should be used. And I dissent. I'm going to end it there and say she just, you know, we owe her a lot, and we just have to be prepared for what that change that they're trying to do also brings before us.
I think I kind of share the same sentiments as you guys. I think whenever I heard the news, I was just more of a sitting back down and just kind of taking a deep breath, more of a sigh. I don't know. Well, how could you describe it better? But just like Irene is saying, you know, it's just understanding that legacy that has been there, that has been in place, the battles that have been fought, but then at the same time understanding that they could easily be taken away. And if they are taken away, then, you know, what are we doing to prepare to follow that legacy, to continue to, you know, support one another? Even thinking about Breonna Taylor's case, it's just the continuance of continue to hold our in the local representatives, senators, state level, etc., accountable for all the stuff that are going on, and as well hold ourselves accountable to really learn about all these different things that are going on, and what are the things that we should get prepared for. But again, there's just, it's a huge loss. It's a huge loss, and definitely, though, at the same time, a legacy that we can all look into and look at what she has done and follow, and hopefully continue to sustain what's already there.
I just want to say almost every single person except white men have been given rights by the Supreme Court. Every single one of us have been given rights to the Supreme Court. And prior to Ruth Bader Ginsburg her time on the Supreme Court, she was I don't know how much everybody knows, but she was an attorney who was relentless in taking more civil rights cases and more civil rights cases, and especially women cases, to the Supreme Court, and won and fought and won and fought. And then in 1993 got out of the Supreme Court, and she was part of the Supreme Court that gave rights to dreamers, to LGBTQ to get married, just so much. And what's terrifying is that all of what she did can be reversed. And what's sad is that we lost somebody on the highest court that would have gone to bat for us relentlessly, who went to bat for us relentlessly for the rest of her life till her dying breath. And we have everything to thank her for.
Yeah. I think what we have to be prepared for is these are lifetime seats. So the more that, you know, the current administration puts on these conservative judges will be within not just our lifetime, but you know, they're making decisions for our kids and potentially our kids' kids. So these are long-term, lifetime, and it's just important for us to understand the decisions they make, as Eric is saying, is impactful, and can be changed. And I don't know why we would even want to go in that direction, but it's just something we have to definitely think about.
I think I want to kind of pull it all together, because we're talking about everything as it is, and I think we all want it to, or expect that it's going to continue forward this way. And maybe I'm kind of the oddball out of this, is thinking and thinking that our fate is in the hands of a Supreme Court that's not elected, and in police departments, and in an electoral college, and these systems aren't working for us. They're working against us as Black, Indigenous people of color, and we need to change them, dismantle them, do something else, do something new. We need people. Maybe I don't have the ideas of what it looks like in the future. There's someone else that does, and we need to uplift those voices and continue forward. And the voting system is not just like, I know that voting is important. Use your privilege that you're citizen to be able to vote, but do not guilt people who aren't voting, because going to a soup kitchen and volunteering there is more effective, and you do more voting, not voting, and doing that as opposed to just voting. So I feel like, yes, this is a great conversation moving forward, but we also have to imagine new ways in just to reimagine what our future could be and not just be stuck in this one way. And it's really easy, I think, also for me to just feel like hopeless, feel like I'm not doing enough, and just having to remind myself and find this network of people that what I'm doing in the classroom is enough. What I'm doing in the classroom is not usual. It's not normal. I'm dismantling white supremacy in my Black, brown, Asian classroom every single day that I show up. And so,
Laura, you brought up the most amazing point ever. And I think that's exactly what we have to keep remembering. Is just like Sheila said here about teaching her 14-year-old granddaughter to make sure she understands her own impact. I mean, if we continue to raise those voices, bring the people that are not having their voice out, but are doing the amazing work. And sometimes they don't even want their voices out, but just knowing that we can help them, we can support them, we can do more. Is just exactly what we need to be doing. And I feel like all of you are doing that here. And that's why I love having you on here. And that's why I love having this every month, because it hopefully brings inspiration to people out there that you can do really anything you want to do. You really can. And if you don't know how, these amazing people here will be more than happy to help you. So you already gained a network without even knowing that you had a network to be gained.
Yeah. I think one of the things about civic engagement is, voting is one part of it. And Laura brings up a good point. Not everyone can vote, number one. Not everyone does vote. But one of the things that's important about kind of what is happening today, whether it be protest, whether it be, helping organizations or helping individuals, we need to understand that that's the whole point of kind of what we've been getting. My dad used to always say to me, he would say, honey, all you really have, me, I thought he was actually talking about how poor I was, but what he was saying was, in reality, all you really have is to give. Which is why, it was so kind of ingrained into me that, you have to be part of making things better, not be part of the problem. And I think we can do it in so many different ways. And I appreciate Laura's point, because our community, particularly, and Diosselyn could definitely vouch for this, is that, we definitely want them to understand their power and their passion and their ability. And we talk about leadership so much, and our community does not, that's not a way to help them become civically engaged and leaders in their community. because of the humbleness, because of, you know, hey, but I'm already doing it. So what makes you think you? So we definitely identify with that and have to understand a population that that civic engagement has to be redefined in a lot, or has to be defined in a lot of ways, so that people understand they are making an impact.
Definitely.
Sorry, Diosselyn, go ahead.
I was just gonna. Actually, I'm gonna be long-winded, so I'm gonna let you go first.
Very quick points. I mostly agreed with everything Laura and Irene just said, but I'm going to dissent on one point, I suppose. First, I love that, Laura, that you emphasize the work that you're doing in the communities, whether it's a soup kitchen or planting flowers or anything like that. That's first and foremost the most important, and then where you're going to make the most impact is right there at home. I love that you said that, and I completely agree. Where I disagree was your comment on voting, and I'm going to tell you why I disagree, and that's okay to disagree sometimes, right? But we're talking about these systems that weren't made for us. But the only way we're going to dismantle those systems is if we vote for the people with the new ideas that you're talking about, that we put them in place so that they can make it so that we get rid of the electoral college, so that they can make it so that every 18-year-old is automatically registered to vote. You know, certain things like that. Like we have to use our vote because it's the only way to dismantle those systems. So, and I can totally get the feeling of being helpless and like, gosh, I mean, I've been voting every year since I turned 18 and nothing's changed. I can understand the sentiment, but you can't let that make you stay home, because the only way we move forward is to keep showing up, keep fighting, make them count us, do your census, make them count us, and be a part of all of it. And the other thing I have to say is your voting is a privilege. Voting is a privilege. We've only had the right since, if I'm not mistaken, 1965, the Voting Rights Act of 1965. White women had the vote for 100 years. That's right. Okay. And that's great. But we've only had it about 55 years. So it's a privilege. We got to do it. We got to do it for everybody who fought for it for us. So, and yes, I love that you said get rid of the Electoral College, because Donald Trump lost the popular vote by millions of votes. Okay, I'm done.
So I'm just gonna add on, and I'm just gonna say, I agree with a lot of everything that is being said, and just like Irene said, and oh my God, Irene, you're gonna have to probably put a break on me as I start going. But like Irene said, you know, one of the things that I did with the Centro was do voting in the Latino community in 3 different counties, and I can definitely tell you each county was different, and it was its own challenge in its way, because it is those you know, it is all those different perspectives that, you know, to an extent, like, yeah, you're right, there are things that are definitely flawed in the system. There are a lot of things that are not working well, but the biggest thing is that, as I was learning through all of this, is the fact that you do get to meet Michelle de las Islas that inspire the hell out of you when you go and see them present and talk about how hard they have worked to even just get there. And that in itself is respectful, because it's just, again, we don't see ourselves in those seats. We don't see ourselves in the system. And guess what? That's what the system wants you to do. That's exactly how they want you to see yourself. They want you to see like you don't matter. So half the time you know, it took a while to understand that, but I really did. And, you know, going forward, it's like, I got to meet some of these representatives. I got to meet some of these senators. I got to meet some of these commissioners. And you know, there's good and bad people everywhere, everywhere. But you know what? The thing is that I was aware now, and I was able to do a lot of things. I just got stronger and better each time that I learned something new. My first year, you know, I was doing the work and we were trying to figure it out. We translated a lot of the material. Even that, we had to translate all the material from scratch, and that took a long time. It took several different people who looked at those things and just trying to figure out what are the right words that we use for people when they read this, right? all of this going to say that we put a lot of work into PowerPoints. We put a lot of work into materials. We put a lot of work into presentations, radio stations. I want to even say like interviews, TV, all these different things. And you know what? It did make a difference. It made a difference because a lot of people started following. A lot of people started noticing that there's different resources out there. There's a website called ksposts.org, and it's for you to register online. And guess what? El Centro had a part in it to get it translated. And it was us asking like, hey, can we help you translate it? And that made a difference because now you can access that in Spanish for the individuals who are getting naturalized and it's their first time voting. Because it's not only citizens that get to vote. There's naturalized citizens that eventually get the opportunity to be able to vote. And to top it all off, I get it, you know, there's a lot of different things that says it doesn't matter, but there's a lot of different people that can tell you that if they had that privilege, they would take advantage of it. Because there was a lot of DACA students who stood up, who went to rallies, who went to the House, who went to the Capitol, who talked to their senators and their commissioners and everybody else that they needed to be able to get in-state tuition. And that's why we have that now. And that's what we protect now. And guess what? I cannot even vote. And I was the organizer for voting for 2 years. It definitely does make a difference. So I get it. I understand. I see all the different perspectives, but no, I get invited to a lot of different tables now. Something that a lot of people wish they could have. And I'm blessed to have had that opportunity. Because guess what? Not a lot of people look like me when I sit on those tables. Not a lot of them are young either. And it's unfortunate because, like you said, Laura, your perspective matters. And you could be sitting right next to those tables with me, and it would make such a huge difference. But if we don't get involved, staying silent is also an injustice.
Everyone makes such a, I'm gonna hop in. I always like jumping on the wrong time, but everyone I 100% can stand with. And like you said, Diosselyn, there are so many different perspectives on this. I can understand as a young Latina why it could feel discouraging to vote. I think that Latinos and I would say a lot of like, you know, POC communities, you know, we get trapped in the idea of like, it doesn't even matter at the end of the day. Maybe we live in a more populated state that is typically red or blue. So we're like, you know what? It's always this all the time. So what's my vote going to count? But I think that we need to end that mindset now. It's not really a time to do that. I think that the stakes are higher than they've ever been. And I think as of July, there were 32 million eligible Latinos and to vote. And that is a powerful number. That is the largest minority electoral college. And although we want to get rid of it, right now we got to use it. So, and our voice really matters. I mean, there's more than just one issue for us to fight about too. You know, there's not just immigration, there's economic development. There's, we have to pour into the funding for our education, for better schooling. We have to think about healthcare. Also, as of recently, you know, the Latino demographic is, you know, one of the highest, if not the highest, impacted by COVID. And that's not just by, you know, the amount of cases or hospitalization or death. It's also in, you know, the fact that the majority of the people who lost their jobs are Latinos. And there's no way that some of them can get their job back. So voting is where we use our voice. We kind of are that sleeping giant. Like there are so many of us that by voting and getting out there and going beyond what we've, you know, what other people have set for us, that is going to, you know, help sway a lot of states that, you know, the majority of Latinos live. I mean, think about it. There are almost like 36 states in which there are over 1 million Latinos. Can you imagine if all of us showed up at these polls and like swung all these states in the right side of history? Like, and you know, the other thing is that sorry, I'm long-winded too now. Okay. The other thing is, about the parties too. We have such a young and progressive demographic also that's ready to fight, because I think that Latinos and the Chicano community are just fed up now. So there's a lot of uprising, especially in our young ones. Young ones. I'm a young one. Okay. But there's a lot that also needs to start being done. Political parties also, they need to start reaching out to our communities, and they need to put more faith in us to in order for us to get that buy-in, because we can't really just buy in on the fact that they say they're for us, and that's just the class president promise, and then it doesn't happen. So it's educating ourselves. It is voting. It is. I would never make somebody feel guilty, because I don't believe in fear mongering at all. But I would definitely tell them this is the value that voting has on your life and the lives of your community, whether it directly affects you. Because I'm Puerto Rican. My family's Puerto Rican. My dad was born in New York. My mom was born in Puerto Rico. We are all U.S. citizens. We were born U.S. citizens. We are part of this, this country. And I was blessed enough to grow up in a community where I saw a lot of privilege, So it's not even like some things directly affect me, but it directs people in my family. It directs people that I know. I live in a community now that's mostly Latino and Black, and like it affects them. And I don't even know them, but I care about them. And that's how powerful that one vote is. And then also impacting your community by the things that you do. Like you said it best, Laura, that reaching out to your community and being out there and being active. It's kind of like a politician. You know what I mean? You can't just post posters around and not actually do the outreach and go out there and do something. You have to be a part of your community and be a part of that change and show this young community as we grow up, and even older generations who don't want to vote or feel like their voice even matters, like push them to it, show them that value. Like I said, sleeping giant, and we need to wake up.
Well, let me give you some statistics and information that with Diosselyn, and when we were doing a lot of this, Latinos are one of every 6 here in the United States. Close to 1 million turn 18 every year. So 3 or 4 out of 5 Latinos are U.S. born. I mean, so immigration is not going to be the growth of our future. It is you young ones, my young children who will have kids. So, the important part of what we found was that immigration was always important because it impacted someone, whether it would be them or someone in their family. But what our families cared about was jobs, healthcare, and education. Those were always made it to the top. What they never saw were any of those running for office knock on their doors. And what we heard from politicians is that, of course, they look at the rolls of low propensity voters and they skip our households. They're not knocking on our doors. We're not getting any kind of communication or conversation. So I think one of the things that's really important is, as we move forward and talking about the sleeping giant, we need to figure out what wakes us up. And if it's not today in COVID, where we are 18.6% of the US population, but we are 34% of the positive cases of COVID. And then not to mention the protests and the civil unrest and Black Lives Matter. What is going to wake us up? What is so important if it's not my kids and my grandkids that we need to make a change and do something about?
Definitely all the movements that are Black Lives Matter, people screaming all lives matter, all votes matter. So we need to remember that if everyone who had that mindset, my vote's not going to count, came to vote, like Kristen said, the states will swing. They will definitely swing. And you can bet that the current president and his administration are counting on us not coming out to vote. That was one point. The second thing I had to say was, I think I already said it about voting, but the third point then is, do not let COVID scare us. And for everyone watching, do not let COVID scare you from not going to vote. Black people, brown people was beaten, lost their lives trying to go and vote. So we have to remember, if they were willing to know that they were going to get beat up, lynched, or shot for exercising the right that was given to them to vote, because they had to be given the right because of our color, then we have to remember we need to show up at those polls and we need to vote. We cannot be scared of, oh, COVID might be there. So what I have to say about that.
There you go, Lori. That is phenomenal. Go ahead, Diosselyn.
There's options. You guys can ask for a mail-in ballot. So if you don't want to go into your polling site, that is A-OK. Kansas is one of the locations that you can ask for your mail-in ballot. And there are several locations like El Centro that will help you fill out your advanced ballot application. You don't even have to talk to nobody. And there's so many online resources nowadays, you guys. Like, there's just anything that you can think of, Google it, and it will appear. It'll probably be the first thing. It'll be the first link that you say. Or just go to your state registrar's office, and then you can also get a lot of links there. But no, I was also just a quick anecdote. I was just gonna ask, I was just gonna add on, it definitely does make a difference, and everything like you said, vote matters, and just even thinking about the generations that are coming, towards voting. I think we have to make it possible for them. We have to start exposing them that they can do this and that they can get those seats and that they can run for those locations and that they too can go to the Capitol. One of my biggest things was always that I went to the Capitol, saw all the high schools, and didn't see any high school from Wyandotte. And I was so upset. And again, I saw the question, how do you start working in the community? You see an issue. And you start figuring out if there's people that are working on it, or if there's anybody that sees the issue with you, that they would like to help you with it. Again, I saw that there was no high schools there. I went back to Irene and I probably talked her ear off until I was able to figure out how to bring students. And we built a great partnership with Schlegel. And guess what? Schlegel has done several forums and even places where senators, representatives, commissioners, and different local leaders and board members come to their school to hear them present on different issues that they care about. They've been active, and the cool thing to see them is that they see themselves in those seats. They see it attainable, and they're like, I'm going to get there. They are now figuring out that there's internships that pays them for going there for a couple of hours, especially if they're in school, in college. Like, there's so many things, there's so many opportunities, exposure, that I think that's one of the biggest things. If it's not for us, fine, but there's a whole generation that can have that power for them.
So I have a question. What about the kids? Because my daughter's going to be 18 next year, and we're trying to, they already are very influenced and know what they're going to do and know the power they have. The only thing is that they are in a white-centric area, very much Trump related, very much racism is loud and proud here. And what do you tell those kids, though? Because they don't know the Irenes. They don't know the people at Wyandotte. They don't know the people at the Capitol. And it is very, when you are living in a white-centric world, it is very, it can be very disheartening to step up and say, hey, I want to be in this space, but how do I even get there? Because I have nobody backing me up. Because, people aren't privileged with someone like myself who is back there fighting for their kids. Some kids are standing alone in this, and I even saw one kid on my corner, a white kid with a Black Lives Matter sign all day, literally all day, all alone. I would travel 64th Street. He's still there, but it hurt me because it's like, there's no one standing here with him. His parents aren't here with him. It's those kids that are wanting to help, but their resources aren't there, or they are very probably timid because of the space they're in. And the saddest part is, me and my husband worked our butts off to get to where we're at. We gave up so much to give a better life to our kids. And I was talking to about this to one of my friends, but I feel like I put them in the same situation I was in when I was growing up, when my dad pulled us from our culture to ensure that we became better. We got better, we got access. And then now I feel like I'm done that to my own kids, because now I still embrace them when they're in KCK, and they love being there, but it's like, they still have to live in this world that we put them in, that it's like, they're now this one person, So I just want to know, what are your thoughts on kids that may not have this amazing resources that we do here?
I have to chime in. So I've just started decorating this wall behind me. I'm calling it my power wall. You see the little women sign, the Si Se Puede. I just ordered a canvas print, and I'm going to click on this window. I just ordered this canvas print with a quote by Kamala Harris. I don't know if you've heard her say this before, but she said, "Whenever you find yourself in a room where there aren't a lot of people who look like you, remember that you have an entire community in that room with you, cheering you on." And I felt like that was so powerful, because I have found myself in multiple boardrooms, presenting, or in the audience, whatever, conference rooms, where I was the only female, where I was the only Hispanic, or both, right? So when I heard that, I said, wow, that's just so powerful. So they may find themselves in a room or in a situation where they're the only ones who look like them, but they have to know there's a whole community cheering them on. And we have to keep showing up. We have to be willing to be the only one sometimes, because then it's up to us to open the door for the next.
Right. We've got to uplift and bring with us, most definitely. But we also have, there are opportunities for those with privilege and have assets, or have transportation, or have that ability, that, there's nothing wrong in wanting better for your kids, right? No one should shame anyone for that. Well, what we need to be changing are the structures that do not allow us to live where we want, in a way we want, and to build our communities around having the resources that we need, so that I'm okay, living in the Northeast area with culture and language, and but there are needs that the Northeast area has, right? So I think there are things like, United Way. There are things that I think, when I think about what we did, well, not we, but what Diosselyn did in bringing kids to the Capitol, for instance. Capitol is our house. Capitol is ours. And the more we don't see, the power that we have in being a citizen in this community, in this place, I know it's harder to seek out, but I think that there are some opportunities that we could, and I think Diosselyn said it best, how we begin to start organizing and helping people and figure it out, or figure something out, is what their passion is, what's affecting them the most. Because we don't want to tell you what you should be kind of working on. We want to know from you what your passion is, and then connecting those resources with the ability to be able to make an impact. And if someone's already doing it, we're gonna give you, that place, and that, and know that it's safe, because these are the folks that are working on it, and then we can help work on something else. And I'll give you a quick example. Melinda Lewis, who worked for El Centro back in around 2000s, when she began talking to families, she was really good at doing some needs assessments. And when she began talking to families were so incredibly upset about their kids not being able to go further education because they couldn't afford college. They were getting a free public school system and so much appreciated the education system, but how were they going to get their kids further in college, especially in the state of Kansas, where if you were going to a university and you were undocumented, you had to pay international fees. An example at UMKC, that's like over $800 for a credit hour. So how are we going to do that? What they didn't ask for in-state tuition. It's not what they said they wanted. They just said, we want an opportunity for our kids to, especially particularly undocumented students. And if it wasn't for a group of parents who would go down to Topeka on buses and not say a word, but be very visible, and to let this community speak for them. Some were even their own children. We would not have in-state tuition. So I think it's a matter of what it is that affects our kids the most. How do we give them a platform to be able to move forward? Because eventually we want them to vote. But right now, what we want them to do, or what we want community to do, is very much be active in the issues that affect them the most. Medicaid expansion. We're telling the story about Medicaid, why it's important to our families. We're telling the story of Medicaid expansion. We're telling the story of voting and really why it's important for them. So if we can get some people to say why it's important for them, then we're telling the story and trying to grow.
Irene, is there any resources in the Northland like El Centro? I know there's a lot of stuff in Olathe, and I know, South gets a lot, but is there anything of that sort in the Northland?
Like community-based, is that what you're asking?
Yeah, so that way we can route like anyone interested in helping and, like going to the Capitol or finding that group of people that can ensure that their voices are being raised. It's great to have one person, but it's also great to have a community that is behind you, even if it's one other person.
Yeah, let me check. I mean, we're all part of the United Way system. I don't know if you've looked at, through United Way's system, but there are a number of community-based organizations who have, a lot of passion and community-based efforts for people to get engaged with.
Perfect.
I just sit here smiling because Deanna, I know you have a lot of irons in the fire, but in your community, that person might be you.
I had a feeling you were going to say that.
When you start those, just throwing out inquiries and having focus groups, don't be surprised that there are more in your community who want to help support, figure it out, than there are those that are racist, because that's what you see from the experiences. We live our experiences. But I mean, it might be.
I had a feeling, and there are people, and that's why I'm asking. Yeah, there you go. And but there are people that have asked me, and I don't know, and I never thought to ask, even Irene, because you guys work in Kansas, and so I wasn't even sure if that was a resource. I have looked at United Way, and I could not find anything community based in the Northland. At least maybe I don't know if maybe they are, and it just didn't shout out to me, but that would be something. But our young kids in high school definitely want that resource out here. And a lot of them can't travel to downtown or south, and they really shouldn't have to, right? I mean, they should really be growing their own communities in these communities, right? That's the only way that we're going to be seen and heard, is if we do start showing up and doing the things that we need to be doing here as well.
I was just going to say, I mean, if you want to do something really local, you could always hit up your mayor and city council. If you go to your city's website, there's usually an email address that'll email all of them at once, your mayor and your city council. There's only so much that they're able to do in terms of legislation. What I'd say is whatever change you're after, kind of like Diosselyn was saying earlier, find out who can actually make that change, right? Whether it's your congressman or your Supreme Court or your local legislators, and email, right? I mean, at least
Yeah,
to
this is
start.
great. I love emailing. So
I was also going to say you can write letters, you can call, you can show up to their offices once, some regulations are lifted. Um, but the other thing that I was going to say is that you could just make noise, and that's seen through many different ways. In pushing individuals to, one of the things that I learned quickly when I was working with the high school students is that they have so many ideas as well. And they just really like, one of the things Irene always told me is like, how are we building leaders? How are we building leaders? How are we building leaders? And I just gravitate to high schoolers. But honestly, like I had high schoolers who were making the flyers for us, who created different packages for citizenship. Oh my God, I forgot what it's called, but Quizlet packages for people to do citizenship. They created videos. They created so many things. So I want to say, like, even challenge them, to kind of see like what are ways that they can do things virtually. Oh my God, how many people would just jump at somebody figuring out how do we engage virtually, especially the younger generations. And the other thing that I was going to say is that don't be afraid to have your kids go to other cities to intern and do volunteer hours. I can tell you that there was one girl who drove 30 to 45 minutes each Wednesday to just come learn Spanish, learn about the community. She learned citizenship applications. She learned DACA. She took appointments. Like, it was amazing to see her grow. Spanish wasn't her first language. It was English. And she came and started learning Spanish. So it just amazed me on how when you open opportunities, so I think my challenge is to organizations, open opportunities to young individuals. They have so much to give. And sometimes you just never know what they come up with that you're like, oh yeah, I guess I could do it that way. And, again, the young generation are the ones that are up and coming. The individuals that are in place, they know that. They listen. They'll go to events. They'll show up. And that's how you can get a lot of other many more things done. The more people you know, the more connections you have.
I think you know a lot of people.
yes. Well, and I think I have somebody, if that job is still open and there's an opportunity, there's actually 2 or 3 people that would absolutely love, and would actually travel that far to do that type of work. So that opened it up. I hope that we've given some ideas to the questions in regards to how you can help your community, because this is great. This is stuff that I didn't even think about. I think you get stuck in your silo and you forget that you do have a way to do something, right? And when we're talking to other people, like, this is how it comes about. So I don't want to keep you guys too long at 7:30. So I definitely want to get your last thoughts, anything that you guys want to talk about to kind of close us out. I would absolutely love to go round robin, and whoever wants to start. I'm not going to call names.
I'll go. All votes matter. Black lives matter. And show up to the polls.
I'll just say we are in such unprecedented times, and it is scary for everyone. It's new for everyone. There's no playbook that tells us, how to deal with this and what to do during something like a pandemic. But I will ask is for us to continue to be engaged and continue to pay attention to what's happening, whether it be in your own home, to your community, to your school, and definitely what's happening in this country. Because it's impactful to the people that we serve, and it's definitely impacting our community in a way that we've never seen before.
I'll go. Because mine will piggyback off of that. I want to say go vote, be active, and be loud in your community. Black Lives Matter. Can you hear me now? Can you hear me? Okay, sorry. Another phone call came in. I'm so sorry, everybody. And Latinos, please, 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 it is worth it to research who you are, research where you came from. It is important to fight and stand up for your community. We can't be silent anymore. Our lives matter too. Our future matters. The future of your children matter. Our communities are important. So please, please no longer silence yourselves and stand up. And that's what I had to say.
I guess I'll go next. So just to piggyback a little bit about what you guys were saying, the other thing you can do is get involved with your local leaders campaigns. If there's a campaign for mayor, volunteer, donate, do whatever you can. Then they become mayor, and they already know you personally when you need something. Think about that, right? So it's just something to think about. Your census, if you haven't already, 2020census.gov. I'll say it again, 2020census.gov. And yes, Black Lives Matter, Brown Lives Matter, Indigenous lives matter. And we all need to vote and use our voice, because all of those people of color combined, we're actually the majority. And when we start showing up, we become a force to be reckoned with. And then they have to listen to our voices. So vote, 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 vote. And your census, 2020census.gov. Latinos Unidos. Let's do it.
I'll go next, definitely. I'll ditto everything Erica said. Census, voting, there's so much going on. So please, please get connected. Look up who your representatives, senators are, all of these different individuals, and your leaders, who are the community organizations that are right there that you can talk to. Who are your Irenes? There's so many Irenes out there. Maybe, potentially. I don't know. She's unique, so that could be hard. But besides that, somebody who's I come from an immigrant background, whatever. You can do so much. You can influence so many people. And tenemos una historia. Y tenemos una lengua that not a lot of people speak. And guess what? They get threatened by it. So use it, embrace it, encourage it. We're here and we should represent that.
Gotta save the best for the last. I'm just playing. I'm not the best. I'm still working on it. But I have so many thoughts, and it's been such a great time talking with everybody, hearing everyone, and just feeding off of each other's energy. I just want to say, make sure you use your privilege. Yes, vote. Yes, do what you can in your community. Reach out to the people that you know, to get a friend of a friend to help you out. Those are also your best connections, because I never imagined that I would have such a community waiting for me here back in Kansas City after being away for 5.5 years. And I don't remember what I was going to say next, but I remember that the thing that has united us in the past as Latinos was that we were working class. That was what united us. And remember that your efforts are not forgotten. Just make them louder and go off of that.
I'm not going to be the last person. I'm going to have Erica go one more time, because she has to shout something out that we all need to shout out to as well. So Erica's going to say that she's amazing at the end anyways. I just want to thank all of you for always showing up here. We did not know everybody here, not even a couple months ago, and I feel like we've become family, and I feel like we are so united, whether we disagree or agree or are neutral. We bring the conversations, and we bring truth, and we bring resources, right? You gave me resources tonight, and hey, might start a whole new community-based thing in Northland. I don't know, but I just appreciate all the work you all do, because it does not go unseen. It is out there. It is vibrant. You are loud, and you can get louder. And I am, even for my own kids, I know that they have a community that will embrace them when they need them. So I just appreciate all of you, and thank you for being there for them, for sure. And definitely want to say again, Breonna Taylor, we will never forget to say that name. and we support Black Lives Matter always. All of us Latinos, Chicanos in Kansas City need to unite. We need to vote. We need to come together as a community. We need to stand strong together. We need to fight together, whether that's at home or out in the streets. We all have our place, and we will work better as a team and instead of being separate. So with that, I just want to thank all of you for being here tonight. And I'm going to end it with Erica and her amazingness at the end. And then I'm going to tell everybody, thank you for being here.
Whew, that's hard to end after that. But I have to say, congrats to Kristen on your engagement. We're so excited for you. Oh my God. Yeah. And then, yeah, we're not going to stop saying arrest the cops who killed Breonna Taylor. Arrest the cops who killed Breonna Taylor. That's it.
Woohoo!